Hello, everybody. I am Rugaroo, and this is the new and improved channel. Today we are going to be talking about Ultimate Spider-Man, and we're going to be talking about the first two issues. Alright, I am joined with Spider-Man expert, and today we're going to be talking about the first two issues of the Ultimate Spider-Man series. Firstly, in the context of Ultimate Spider-Man, what is this comic? Because obviously there's already Ultimate Spider-Man.
There's actually more than one Ultimate Spider-Man. There's the Ultimate Spider-Man comic, which came out like 20 years ago. And then there's a terrible TV show called Ultimate Spider-Man. Thankfully, this has nothing to do with either of them. It's a brand new universe created by Jonathan Hickman in his under-received Ultimate Invasion story. And it takes place 20 years into what would have been potentially an Ultimate Universe. The Maker interferes with some things, causes some shenanigans, and Peter doesn't get bit, yada yada yada. A lot of heroes don't get their powers.
Right, he's trying to make a world without heroes. So he's going and doing their origins, or he's interfering and making it to where certain things don't happen, or they don't even become the heroes at all.
Right. And in this case, he, as a 15-year-old Peter, is about to be bit, and the Maker just shows up and takes the spider and bottles it away before it can bite Peter. So then that way, later on, it can be given to him in the first issue of Ultimate Spider-Man, and he can then become Spider-Man.
Okay. The story starts off with he's still working at the Bugle, and he has a family. He's not Spider-Man. He has a wife, MJ, who's really hot, and he has two kids, and Uncle Ben is still alive, and Aunt May is dead.
And that reversal is a really interesting and fresh twist on Peter. We've had bad alternate universe Peters where Aunt May dies instead of Ben and his life goes awry, and in this case Aunt May only recently died due to the events of Ultimate Invasion, and so he came out an okay guy. Actually, he's in an incredibly nice New York apartment despite being a newspaper photographer, which should be a completely irrelevant job, and he's still dating a super hot supermodel despite not being a superhero.
Yeah.
Has two kids who, one is named May, so we can only infer that maybe at some point she might become
Mayday
Spider-Girl, something like that. But he still is missing something from his life. He feels like he's 35, and he says that something is missing, he's unfulfilled. He doesn't know quite what it is, but he has almost like a cosmic awareness that he's supposed to be Spider-Man, or at the very least he's supposed to be something more, and he isn't.
Right. I feel like it's very interesting to see an older Peter experiencing the joys of I just got bit by this spider and now I have these powers, and I don't really know what to do, or everything's different now. But he's this old guy, but it's because it was the right to be Spider-Man was taken away from him, and he didn't even have a choice to do it, and then it just later on in his life he's just made aware of it. I feel that's really cool.
Right, and there are so many times in main continuity, 616 Spider-Man or Ultimate Spider-Man, the original one, 1610 universe, where Peter talks about if I got bit, then none of this would have happened. I wouldn't have gotten my uncle killed. I wouldn't have, gotten Gwen Stacy killed, or yada yada yada. Whereas in here, sure, he did lose one of his parental figures, but it's something completely unrelated to him. He gets his powers afterwards, and it's entirely voluntary. He, of course, is going to become Spider-Man because the book's called Ultimate Spider-Man, not Ultimate Peter Parker, the Daily Bugle reporter. So he's going to say yes and, accept Tony Stark's gift, but he still made the conscious decision.
He has a choice.
He has a choice, and he's never had that before. It's always been a kid gets bit in an accident.
Right.
Now it's an adult makes a conscious effort to be greater.
Yeah, I think that the changing of the catalyst from it being something that's not really thrusted upon him, but like kind of presented to him, and like, you know, I feel like that's interesting. One thing that I found really interesting about it is Uncle Ben and Jameson's relationship, just like their like friendship.
Right, something that's never really been explored before, as far as I know.
It was new to me.
It was new to me, and I've read too much Spider-Man.
Right.
It's very interesting because it almost kind of harkens back to they do have like a lot of in common in normal continuity. It kind of just depends with like Marvel's sliding time scale. You know, like a comic that came out in the 60s, you know, in the 90s, they'll be like, oh, they came out in continuity. That event happened like 5 years ago or 10 years ago. It couldn't have happened 30 years ago because then Peter would be geriatric. So they do have, historically, they've had a lot in common. They, you know, both Jameson and Ben, you know, they're kind of like the truth, justice, and the American way, only not Superman. Both idolize like Captain America, and they both typically have like an anti-mask standpoint. Mm-hmm. The times that Ben has been allowed to live, he's been pretty openly anti-mask as well. So it's not that it's weird for them to be friends. It actually kind of makes sense in a way.
Right.
And I think the reveal of Ben still being alive in Ultimate Spider-Man is done spectacularly well, where Jameson is calling out for Parker, stops by, he's like, oh, hey, Peter. And he goes, and keeps yelling for Parker, and then you see Ben's desk, and you're like, oh my God, you know, that was done exceptionally well.
Yeah, I think it was done really well, and I honestly think that their relationship is like, or at least like I enjoy the dialogue between them, like whenever they're like talking like about like the like journalism industry as like a whole, and they're just like talking about like, you know, like just like him, like the solidarity of like him like leaving with Jameson, like all that. I don't know, I thought that was interesting, or at least like nice.
Yeah, they spoke with their actions, thankfully. It wasn't... Hickman's a good writer, so thankfully he didn't have Uncle Ben sit down with Peter and say, hey, I know things are kind of weird with me, you know, being friends with your weird boss, you know, like, thankfully we don't get stuff like that. Instead, we actually get a really nice scene with Jameson putting on a tie for Peter. And
that scene was really good. I really liked that.
And being like, well, you know how he's not really that open with me. He doesn't confide with me. Like, he just lost his wife in basically a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
And he won't talk with me, his best friend, about it. But, like, you're his surrogate son. Like, please do what you can to help him. Stuff like that goes a long way in, like, okay, yeah, I can see this relationship being something genuine. There's, like, an actual... they have a very well, like, written chemistry together.
What did you think about the, like, or what did they call it? The suit? What is it called? A
Picotech stealth suit or Stark suit? It's either one of those two.
But what did you think of it? Like, as just like, because it's, I mean, it's a black suit, but it's not the black suit. Right.
Picotech stealth suit. I enjoy it. I think it's interesting from what they're setting up with these first two issues. It seems like he gets this suit. It's completely black. It allows this Spider-Man to really choose his own identity. You know, and main continuity in the Raimi movies, whatever, he goes to a wrestling match, has to make a colorful costume for the wrestling match, then kind of just makes that into a superhero costume.
Right.
Here he's given an entire blank slate with presumably web shooters, because in the second issue he can web swing and has seen web swinging, but we never see him make web shooters. We never see, I doubt they're organic because it's kind of an outdated concept at this point. But it's interesting in the fact that it allows Peter to have this blank slate to make his own identity, and we see in the second issue that he's going to rebrand himself into Spider-Man because his appearance is frightening to his daughter.
Do you think that the suit is going to be more blue than red based off the drawing that she leaves for him in the end of the second issue? Because that's what I thought they were going.
Honestly, I think that they're probably just going to adapt the cover suit for the most part.
That's what I thought. But like I don't know, just like the way that the Spider-Man is drawn, it just seems like there's like a lot of blue.
The end of issue 3 will be his unveiling to the world of, this is who I am. I'm Spider. He talks about in issue 2. He's like, I'm still figuring out like who I am, what I'm supposed to do.
The whole identity thing with like fighting Shocker and like that makes a lot of sense to me. I feel like it'll be kind of like finding like his like footing and like this like. Since it's like thrusted upon him, it's like, he has all these powers and he's swinging around, and it's like, but like the idea of Spider-Man is like a foreign concept to him.
Right. He knows that he's supposed to be Spider-Man, but he doesn't even know. Like, the extent he knows is that Tony Stark said, hey, you were supposed to be Spider-Man.
Right.
He doesn't know like what that means, what he's supposed to be doing. Hell, he might not even quip or make jokes or something like that because he doesn't know Spider-Man's supposed to do that. Maybe he thinks Spider-Man's supposed to be stoic. Maybe he thinks, he doesn't know what he's doing right now. But obviously, it seems like because of the input of his daughter, who thinks that he's scary, in his current regalia, that he's going to rebrand himself and become a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Right. Having an old Peter Parker and a young Tony Stark is really cool because, especially in recent years, we've had the trope of the Iron Man Jr., Spider-Man, so that's like a interesting flip, especially with that like coming off of that in like comic culture, or at least like like MCU culture.
Right.
Oh, we're the Goblin suit. That is the one thing that we didn't talk about. I thought it was cool. It's very like I feel like the plates that go down like the abdomen.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Like I like the detail that goes into it all the way down. I feel like a lot of times this is kind of just like in like a few like big parts, but I feel like there's a lot of intricate small parts that kind of go throughout the metal for this one.
The scene in the first issue where he's talking with MJ and she's like, is this something that you feel like you have to do? Like you've supported me whenever I was like, I want to start a business, I want to do this. Like, is it something that you feel like you have to do? Because if so, I'm there and like I'll support you in any way you can. But like I need to know that like you like if you don't do this, that you won't like spend the rest of your life regretting it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting to see how his dynamic with his family and how he's going to perceive being Spider-Man and the time that he spends being Spider-Man compared to pretty much every other adaptation of the character that we've ever seen. I mean, it's fresh. It's a unique take. There's it's overflowing with potential.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's almost, if it wasn't for the fact that has really weird release dates where it's releasing like a month and a week away. And
the release dates are weird, but the potential for the storytelling is there.
It's limitless. I mean, the Ultimate Universe ran for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
A separate continuity that had nothing to do with the main Marvel Universe that had existed for like 60 years before that. So, I mean, this already just, if it works, people will be talking about it a decade from now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see any reason why it can't maintain, if as long as Hickman's on the helm, just as Bendis was, from the inception of the Ultimate Universe to its end.
Mm-hmm.
If Hickman's doing the same with Spidey, I can see it lasting, I mean, the same amount of time, if not longer,
Yeah. And hopefully it does, and time will tell. But we are looking forward to seeing what this series does going forward. And maybe there will be a issue 3 and 4 tie-in summary like we did for this one. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But that was our thoughts on Ultimate Spider-Man 1 and 2. Thank you for watching. Hello everybody, and thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. And also, if you could follow my Spotify, I'm about to be releasing music pretty soon. And leave in the comments what other topics or comics you would like me to talk about. Thank you.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.